Hello, I'm Gareth.
And I'm Sian, and welcome to Building Business Resilience.
This is a podcast from Sanctuary Financial Planning, which helps growth business owners and social media influencers achieve financial independence.
We're two passionate financial planners on a mission to seek out new ideas, tips and tricks to help you take control of your finances and run better businesses.
We delve into the true goals and aspirations of our guests in order to provide you with some real value and positivity.
Nothing outrageous, clear, simple, solid financial solutions. We also have a YouTube series to accompany this, and details will be at the end of the show. So let's move on to our guest.
It's episode 19. In today's show, we're going to be talking to Sian Wyn Owen. Sian is the head chef and partner at the world-famous River Café on the bank of the River Thames in London. Sian has a passion for cooking for all of her adult life and has worked in the River Café since 2000. The restaurant is unique in the fact that the kitchen is virtually half women and half men, and they change the menu on a daily basis. Speaking to Sian, you can feel her passion for what she does and her commitment to an industry she loves. So without much further ado, let's get started. Hi, Sian. How are you?
Good, thank you. Very good.
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. It's nice to do something different.
Straight off the back of how many covers?
Well, we've just cooked for today lunch about 165. That's a modest 165.
Is that a couple of turns of the restaurant, or?
With the sort of distancing, I guess we're doing like filling the restaurant very slowly. So we start service at 12, and then the last table can sit down about 3 o'clock. So it's not actually that difficult to get the numbers in. But with the distancing, we have to be careful not to sort of, run it like just people falling on top of each other. So it feels quite sedate.
Is it a bit more of a kind of relaxed service, I guess, in that way for the kitchen, is it?
It's relaxed, yeah. It's relaxed-ish, as kitchen life ever can be. As relaxed as kitchen life ever is,
It all starts again at
now 6 o'clock, because we used to reopen for dinner at 7, but because we need to, like any restaurant needs to sort of, we're trying to recoup losses now for a couple of months of closure. So we decided to try and, do the numbers, we need to try and open an hour earlier. So we brought the opening time earlier so we can just try and, get as many people through. And we've got a waiting list as long as your arm as well.
So that's 300 and something odd people per day, every day.
Yeah. So, yeah. But it's very nice. You see, we've got this beautiful outside terrace. I don't know if you've seen, but we've got a beautiful terrace. It seats probably about 80 to 90 people, all distanced by more than a metre. So as long as the weather holds up, it is a really beautiful place to sit and have dinner under the stars in London, which is also feels really nice and airy, after being, of all the places to be.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because London is not always the airiest of places, is it?
Exactly. And I know that when people, especially Londoners, when they think, where should I go and eat? You always think, the River Café, at least it's on the river. Yeah. And it's, probably by taxi from central London, maybe 20 minutes, in traffic. So it's not sort of miles out. It's perfectly accessible. But that has to be a reason to come out to Hammersmith.
Oh, yeah. No, it's, I can see that's a nice location. You're right on the edge of the Thames then, effectively.
Exactly. So it's beautiful. And in the evening, it really is quite a special place. It looks beautiful and the lights are on and, but today it's been quite pumping today.
How do you get time to appreciate how nice it is when you have to do that amount of dinners and meals?
It's funny. Well, this morning when I walked into work this morning, and I thought I walked in with my kids actually because they're on obviously school holidays. So I was like, well, come and play on the lawn while I write the menu. We walked in along the river and then sat outside to write the menu. And all the doors and windows are open. All the chefs and waiters are working away. It does feel as good as it gets in the restaurant, in London. Because I've worked underground. I've worked in places without windows. And now you think, okay, it is really a beautiful place to be able to work.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. So the restaurant, the River Café, head chef, partner?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about the restaurant.
Well, River Cafe is a restaurant that's about 32 years old. It's coming up to 33 this September. And it was started by two women, Rose Gray, who died about maybe 10 years ago-ish, about 10 years ago, and Ruth Rogers, who's still alive. And she is the wife of Richard Rogers, so basically Lord Rogers, who's the architect. So he put his architectural practice, in the old Duckham's Oil depot in Thames Wharf. And they needed a place for the architects to have their lunch. So they kind of just started a really, really small restaurant and, doing simple food for the architects to come and eat. But then gradually, because the cooking was so good, people were like, oh, can I come and eat with an architect? And then gradually, it grew from that, from as simple as that. And only latterly, about 2 years ago, Richard moved out with his architect practice. And, now we have artists. It's quite a creative community around Thames Wharf. So people who live locally and work locally can come and have a set lunch still. So it's still the same ethos. But yeah, 32 years. I've been the head chef for about 15 years now. So kind of a while.
Yeah, that's good going. So I guess do chefs generally stay in one place, or is it a normal kind of move around quite a bit?
Well, I would say we keep chefs for a long time because I think the way I employ people is it's in our interest as a business to keep good people, and to keep good people, especially in chefing, you need to consider that what the preconception of what catering is you would probably, I would imagine, come to this podcast, have a chat thinking that chefs work, terrible hours, long hours in a sort of maybe, an environment which we've all seen the TV programs looks pretty, challenging. Yeah. And I guess, for me now as a head chef, I always try and, what I think the secret of keeping our staff is that we let people have a life. So, I would say that what I say to any chef when I employ them is that I want them to want to come to work, and I want them to want to go home. And there's no shame in saying you're really looking forward to going home. I'm really looking forward to going home tonight. I'm gonna read a cookbook. I'm gonna cook something for my family. And good luck to you. I think the kind of overworked chef just perpetuates exhaustion and makes people hate their job. Yes. And so when they hate their job, they just give up. And so I think people are drawn to chefing for passion, because no one's ever going to be, I want to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a chef. Well, I mean, maybe some people do. It's hardly a job that, it's not like I want to be a pop star kind of thing. So you're drawn to cooking for passion and loving cooking and food and eating and, hospitality. And so, it's an industry that you're attracted to probably for the passion of cooking. And then you work so many hours that you lose the passion and you have to give up. So it's in your interest as an employer is to keep people passionate. And that means, firstly, I would say not overworking them to a point that they start to hate their job. So we have chefs that have stayed, 10 years, 15 years. My direct colleague, me and Joseph, we would consider ourselves both to be the head chefs. So that in itself means that neither of us has to be overworked either. Yeah. And he's been here 19 years. I've been here 20 years. So and that's just at the top. And people around us, 15 years, 18 years. No, so actually, when you're getting food then that's being cooked by chefs who are extremely experienced as well,
Yeah.
Proper mama's cooking.
That's good. And I guess is that, you said mama's cooking there, is that the style of food which they're kind of...
Yeah, so we cook, it sort of basically began as Tuscan cooking, I suppose. Tuscan cooking 30 years ago in London was really, really ahead of its time. And Rose and Ruth, women that you have to credit with changing the way people ate in Britain, Cavolo Nero and pancetta and, all these things are things that we just take for granted. But if the River Cafe was I would say, the restaurant or one of the restaurants that changed the way people viewed cooking. Jamie Oliver was one of the alumni, one of the old alumni of the restaurant, and look what he did. And, if you consider this was all just a knock-on effect from Rose and Ruth and their vision of cooking. So, so it was Tuscan, and then but now we do regional Italian cooking, I'd say. What do we have on today? Well, today we had some split and wood roasted langoustines that we were cooking in the wood oven with some wild oregano and chili and lemon. And we would always remember sort of going down to Liguria and eating them by the sea, and so you can sort of think, well, that's like a beautiful Ligurian thing, and then might have a sort of summer ribollita, something like that, was very Tuscan. So we mix. We're lucky enough to be able to go through the whole of Italy as our repertoire, rather than being like, we're Tuscan, because that could get just a bit heavy. I don't know if the Londoners would go for that.
You mentioned there, Sian, about Jamie Oliver, and chat about your journey or your career. And was it a thing in the early days that there wasn't as many women chefs, because we all know the male chefs? Was it predominantly male chefs when you started, and is that percentage changing now, or has it changed?
I think when I started cooking, so I went to London University actually. How many years ago? I can't dare and even remember. More than 25 years ago. And I started off doing law, and then I switched and did a human nutrition and dietetics because I really wanted to cook. But my dad was really determined that I should get myself education. And it was really unfashionable to be a chef then. It was like, it wasn't, nowadays it seems like a credible career. But how many years ago? 25 years ago, more than 25 years ago, it was less so. And so when I finished in uni, I went to King's in London. I'd managed to get a job in Harvey Nichols in the 5th floor restaurant there, which was quite contemporary and starting this new sort of wave of cooking that, this modern British or whatever people call it. And I was definitely one of a few women then. And then I moved to open the Bluebird restaurant on the King's Road, which we were doing about 500 covers a day there, 500 covers a service. So that was really busy. And I remember the first opening kitchen was about 50 chefs. And I would say about 45 men and about 5 women. And then flash forward to now, the River Cafe, we've got 100 staff. We've got a kitchen of about 30 chefs. And I'd say we're probably 60-40 women, men at the moment. But we always try and keep it equal. So it, we don't have, it's never out of kilter, so I feel a lot of pride in that,
Brilliant. And how have you adapted in the current climate with everything that's gone on over the last few months?
We basically closed the restaurant ahead of having to close because we felt there was a real swell of opinion that everyone was getting really nervous, and it felt inconsiderate to our staff to make them pick up napkins for customers. We just felt like we have to listen to what people are saying. So we closed early, and we decided to set up a sort of delivery company called The River Delivers. Okay. And we were really pleased with the name. And then but then even that, we started thinking, can we justify people coming into work for this? It felt really, it was slightly irresponsible, even though the idea was good. So we closed that down after one day. So we always were like, okay, that's a really, really short business that we set up as a one-day business. And then as lockdown continued, there was 5, I think about 6 of us that weren't furloughed. And so we decided that we needed to try and just we weren't sure when we'd be able to reopen, but yet we were kind of keen to kind of keep the energy going of the River Cafe and keep us out there, because 32 years, we couldn't let ourselves sort of vanish. So we set up a shop called Shop the River Cafe, which we've been doing cooked produce, olive oil, wine, River Cafe Dolce cakes. And then we gradually could unfurlough people as the Shop the River Cafes started to grow. But we've recently now we've reopened, we've just taken on an operations director to sort of hone it, because it was slightly, for us to grow any further, we felt like we needed to take on, invest in someone that can help us to take the idea forward and invest in proper packaging and delivery, so we can do something a bit slicker. So we're planning to sort of hopefully get that going through September now. So we've just reopened a restaurant and we're trying to work out how to keep a shop going. So that's been a challenge, for us as a team.
And was that shop ever, was there ever the intention of opening the shop, or was that just a decision that was done because of what happened in the last few months, and all of a sudden then it's a new venture?
It was reactive.
Okay.
We're always looking for new ventures and ideas, but we have had some things that you could buy within the River Cafe, because obviously we've got our books. We did the last book about 2 years ago, and we have a gift boxes that was the only thing we really sold, which was a selection of really beautiful curated items that you literally couldn't buy anywhere else. Even if you look at it and think, oh my goodness, that's a really expensive box. But if you went and tried to buy it, you couldn't buy it anywhere. And if you did, you would definitely spend more. So we felt it was quite an honest thing. So we'd enjoyed doing that. So we thought, well, let's try and think outside the box, because we may have no choice. And thinking if we have another lockdown, we need something so we can, keep all our staff employed. That's our main objective, to keep everyone in their livelihoods. We feel very protective of all our staff,
It's really nice to hear from.
Yeah.
So with you, you were saying earlier on, you're traveling up and down from Wales to London on a regular basis. What's the big motivation for you? Because that sounds, the journey time that you have to do is long, and it takes motivation.
It wasn't really that. I was generally living my life in West London, quite, obviously proud Welsh woman, don't get me wrong, really enjoying my West London life. But then, this will make everyone really sad, but my dad died in February, and we've been kind of, my mum had sort of moved into sort of different accommodation, and so we were left with the house, and we were just in the process of trying to sort of sort out, go through the house, and then it looked like, oh my goodness, London is going to be locked down. We need to work out if we're going back to get locked down in Shepherd's Bush, or if we're going to stay in the countryside. So we were like, well, let's stay. And so then, and the kids were so happy, obviously, as you all know, in lovely Wales, that we were just like, it seems really, it's nicer to keep them there if we can. So, just, whilst we can still travel up and down, if it looks like we're going to get locked in again and have to make the decision where to be, I don't think it's a hard decision. But, so I've been really fortunate since we've been reopened, that we've been allowed to come and go now. Thankfully, we can come into Wales, otherwise that'd be a disaster.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like a lot of travelling, though. I say you get the benefit of waking up in the morning, listening to the birds and that, but it's it's a lot of time spent in the M4.
Well, I don't know, I was trying to work that out, but I was thinking, if on a bad day you could drive across from West London to East London, it'll take you 2 hours.
Yeah.
And no one minds. And actually 3 hours, but when you get to sort of open the car door and breathe in the fresh air, it's like, it's worth every minute, and at the moment it does seem okay on the M4. It's not too bad, is it? It's a bit quieter.
No, you've hardly been anywhere, have you? But it is a lot. It's getting busier, but I like it because the run into London can be absolute carnage, can't it? But I assume it is a lot easier at the moment, then, is it? Or I guess it has been during the.
It has been, and it's the kids are just. I've got them with me this week, and they're just desperate to get back in the car and go back the way.
Yeah, it's kind of. But yeah, I can see, because that's a massive. Because if you're driving from Cowbridge, and then how many hours you working then going back?
No, it's not so bad. It's just a full week's work. It's just a full week's work.
You kind of beginning of the week and then going back. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I'll just group my shifts together, because I kind of work shifts. Chef generally do shifts rather than Monday to Friday 9 to 5. So that's the best part of that is the fact that you can. In theory, you could do you could probably squeeze a full week's work into 3 or 4 days if you want to. And then I can work remotely when I'm not in the cafe, on the shop and on, everything else. So I just sort of pile in my time in the kitchen and then come to Wales and work remotely on everything else. But I thought if I did this interview with you in the garden, you'd be like, are you really a head chef of a restaurant? You're way too relaxed.
Yeah, because at least you're in your whites and...
Exactly.
One of the big things that's come up for all the times we've chatted, Sian, with a lot of people is mental toughness, and that's in business and stuff like that. And one of the questions, the big question we ask people is how do you cope with the bad days? How do you keep a happy face for both staff, customers, and when crap is going on? And all that. Because all I can see is this, the programs you see on TV where, the kitchen is an absolute minefield. There's people shouting at each other and everyone's in a bad mood. So in the real world, how do you cope with all of that? And
I think in the restaurant, what I would really pride myself on, and I know I speak when I say we, I mean all of us, is that we kind of have a house style of how we behave as a unit. Yeah. Like if you walk into the restaurant, you would hopefully be greeted very warmly by someone smiling, and that they can smile probably because they're not so overworked that they're losing their passion, and they've, hopefully had a night off before. We're really careful of the shifts we do. And it's kind of catching, it's infectious, there's a good energy, people are buoyant, and I really try and, personally keep myself in, it's like being on stage in many ways. As soon as you walk through the door, you walk into the restaurant space, we come down from the office into the restaurant space, and I see the blue carpet and the pink wood oven at the end, and all the chefs are working away, and I always just think it's like you have to just put a smile on your face, and it just takes you, doesn't it? And I think it's the kind of house style, I'm never would raise my, obviously you could raise your voice, but just be really careful about how we speak to people. And so generally, a bad day, say you're having a bad day, I don't know, outside work, you could generally come into work, and as soon as you step onto the blue carpet, you have to put yourself into your professional space. And I think chefs can somehow train themselves in the River Cafe to adopt that, and they can take it with them as a part of a positive energy. And so people that are doing very well when they're in the restaurant are very professional and polite and friendly and enjoying it. And then you can get back outside and sit in your car and go, oh my goodness, I'm back to my real life, so it can keep you buoyant, I have to say. We all really missed, being on lockdown, I think was harder because there is such a camaraderie between everyone here. And without that, it felt, I was thinking, what's it going to be like coming back to work? I've been away for so long and I've almost become mute. I hadn't seen anyone in Wales at all. I've been so isolated. And then I just saw everyone again. I was like, oh my goodness, it's just so joyful to see these amazing people that we work with who are just, just such, wonderful energy. So that does help, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds, just a few things I picked up on that you've been saying about, the team and almost the team ethics and everyone, you wanting everyone to go to work, but wanting everyone to enjoy it, wanting everyone to, what's the word, put in a proper shift, be exhausted by the end of it because you're entertaining people that are paying money for that, so that you're so tired that come the end of the day, it's absolutely fine to say, I love my job, but I am absolutely exhausted now and I really can't wait to go home and relax. But you know what? When I recharge my batteries, I'm so looking forward to coming in tomorrow to do a job that I love, the people that I actually really enjoy working with.
Exactly. And I don't want to make it sound like it's just some kind of, it's rigorous, it's serious, but it's genuinely, really a positive way of working. Obviously, you have good and bad days with people and different things, but generally, I'd say it's one of our real value, core values is sort of kindness and respect rather than fear and all the rest of it, especially in the kitchen world, which, sometimes I've had chefs in the past who've come from different kitchens. Some people have arrived and they've been almost damaged by the experience, and you can see it. And you can see it in their skin, because often people, will have bad skin from not seeing any fresh air or daylight, and maybe not being eating very well because and maybe in their manner. And you can see that they've been in kitchens that have been aggressive, and you think, oh, or you can have a chef that might have worked in a kitchen which is aggressive, will come in with a manner, or and you might have to just rein them in and say, it really isn't that kind of kitchen. It really isn't that kind of kitchen. And obviously we have zero tolerance on any kind of bullying behaviour, so that nips that in the bud, and any kind of sexist, so it's really straight down the line. There's zero tolerance on it. So it means that people know that if they go down that, you really sort of slam them for it. And it's, where can you come back? How can you come back if you're going to behave like that? So we're quite strict on it, but it doesn't have to be enforced because it enforces itself,
Is there a thing that people almost change them, if they come from an environment where they have been, you were using the terms being bullied or are being in a place where it's been aggressive, have they over time then changed because they've gone into an environment with you guys where it's almost a rehab of going, this is how we work here now, and they change, they adapt, and do they get to back into it's not a job anymore again, it's a passion for doing what they wanted to do originally?
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely, underpins that. And, that obviously comes from Ruthie, who comes right at the top, the owner of the restaurant, who sets that as an example straight off. That is just, when people say it's like a family, the River Cafe, and it is, I always joke that it's like the mafia, because once you leave, you're always part of the family, generally 99% of the time. When you come back, we'll always look after you. We had one of our chefs who'd left and gone off to open his own restaurant, and his wife had twins in Chelsea and Westminster a few years ago, and there was gridlock in Hammersmith, like proper gridlock, like the cars were not moving, people were spending like 2 hours to get anywhere, and his wife is in the car with their newborn twins just coming home from Chelsea and Westminster, and how they scream, and I remember the doors opening, and there was David standing there looking totally fried, like with his twins screaming, and he didn't know where to go, but he came to the River Cafe because it's the only place he could think of. We were like, David, come in, go and sit upstairs, feed the babies, and it was just like, we hadn't seen him for years, but it was like, once you've done your time, you're always part of the family,
You talk about family there. You've got a young family. No more than of us. How do you balance life and a demanding job?
For me, I've got my little Pearl who's 12 and Legra who's 6. So I'm speaking as the older mother, age 48 with a 6-year-old. It's a challenge, but no, I've got Jamie, who's my partner, who actually is the River Cafe gardener, but I'm fortunate to have, a stay-at-home parent who, can do the nights and, the night when I'm at work. And, I know I'm fortunate as a working woman to have, like them, every man says, I've got the great woman behind me. I've got the reverse. But, even for women, I would say one of the things I was thinking if I had an opportunity to talk about would be, women and chefs when they have kids, because often that's the end of the road for a woman when she's a chef, because you sort of think, well, how the heck can I do shift work? Because daycare is not night care, and it becomes really difficult. And I know when I had my older daughter, one of a chef in another restaurant said to me, well, that's you're just throwing your career away now. And I guess when I came back, I thought I have to work and work and work, because that was 12 years ago. But now I think one of my chefs went off to have a baby, and when she came back, she said she wanted to work. She wanted to work these hours, and she needed this because she had to cope with childcare and all the rest of it. And then she also wanted a pay rise, and I was blown away by her. I was blown away by her confidence, and I just thought, wow, yes, I totally agree. Yes, you should, because to be able to keep these brilliant women in the kitchen, you need to let them be able to say what they want to work. You have to let them, dictate their hours, because it's really difficult being a working mother and doing shift work. And I just thought it is a challenge in catering. But as one of the things I'm really proud of at the River Cafe is that you can actually achieve that as a working mother. And I just think, wow, I just feel really proud to say that now in this day and age, you can actually, you can do it, not everywhere, but you can do it here,
Amazing. The big question then is, if you spend all day cooking, do you do all the cooking at home? Or do the kids not want their mother to cook for them?
I'd be lying to say I don't do all the cooking at home. I'd like to say, but it's easy for me to cook, so I do just cook. And it is just all I know how to do. I can't really do anything else, so I do cook. And my kids are really fussy eaters, yeah. So I'd like to say, no, they eat really well. They live on but they just eat like regular kids. And I just think, good luck to them. I don't want them to have, they eat well, but I just think, let them be, let them eat fish fingers and beans if they want to,
That's what kids at that age do.
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
don't they?
Exactly. I just think there's enough time to sort of go and eat white truffles and all the rest of it, let them, and I try and, my main thing with them is that we eat just home cooked food, really. If they just home cooked food as much as possible, but I'm not strict with them at all.
So do you get a chance that there is a family night where you're all going to sit down for a meal one night a week or something like that, with you doing different shifts and stuff?
Yeah, because I probably only work 2 or 3 nights a week. Like I said, because me and Joseph, we would share, the pass. So we don't, like one of us, he has 3 children under 5. He needs to be home more than me. Yeah. But, so every night I'm not in work, we sit down and eat together. Yeah, always. For us, it's important just because, I just like, I don't want to lose the table as the kind of, not that, it's nice to at least eat together.
Yeah, it's the way the family chat and bond together and find out the stories of the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Highs and lows in your life. Is there any big things that you've achieved and low points?
Highs, I would say professionally, probably the gift box, doing the River Cafe gift boxes has been a really great challenge for me, being able to do something within my role, after 20 years behind the stove, so to speak, being able to do something that's been, exciting for the business and see it come back, in the return on that. The River Cafe 30, I was really fortunate to be allowed to work on that, and that was nice to see your name on a book. And even though we really just re-edited the original cookbook after 30 years, Ruthie was really kind to allow me and Joseph to put our name on it with her, so that felt really special. Lows, I guess we had a fire here at the River Cafe when in 2008, and the whole kitchen was gutted, and it was the same time as the banks were crashing in the US, and we did wonder then whether we'd ever be able to come out from that, and we managed to rebuild the kitchen and reopen. And then we lost Rose, who was, the co-founder. And that was also a real, we all kind of loved Rose. It was like, oh my God, how are we ever going to manage without our leader? Obviously we still have Ruthie, but we were one woman down. But we've managed to, come through that as a team. It's not just me here. So we, that was, feel proud of ourselves for that, I guess,
What was it like? You mentioned there, the achievements that you've done, but for the place being closed during lockdown, what was it like the first afternoon, first evening when you opened up for people to come back in again? Was that something special? That you didn't know it could have been closed for a lot longer. Was it just wow? It's nice to have people back in again. There's a buzz. We're all back working.
It was kind of funny because we were just getting the restaurant set up because we only wrote the menu that morning. We were really ill prepared for it. It's like, oh God, how do you do this again? I'd completely forgotten how to write a menu. I was like, because you have to think about balance and colour and, obviously it's seasonal, but I was a bit rusty. But don't tell the 300 people that came in that day. It's like, it takes a bit of time to get back into a stride, It's like,
were you plating up and thinking, that's not quite right?
No, but as I was doing, I thought, I forgot about that dish. I forgot. I could do something. You're thinking. So actually, it takes a couple of shifts to get back into your menu writing groove, And so I don't But anyway, everyone was so happy to be back in the restaurant, and it was so lovely to see all the chefs and the customers. There was a real, emotional feeling. But because I'd had to come back from Wales to reopen the restaurant. Wales was still in lockdown, so I was like, okay, I'm back here, and now I can't even go back to Wales. I'm here. And it was really odd because I'd been so locked away. Just being around that many people was like, okay, this is what eating in a restaurant looks like. It was definitely like a real, okay, but now we're back into it now. It seems really normal.
Just back into normal. It's normal now again. It's just back into the routine.
It feels like that. We have to keep, making sure everyone's sort of distanced. And we're wearing masks in the kitchen and, very careful with the hygiene and table distancing. But it feels much like, much more normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Logistically, did you have to do a lot with the restaurant and like the layout and I guess with staff and so on and so forth?
Not at the moment. We didn't have to because we've got this big outside area. We just reduced the number of tables inside and just put them outside. So we've managed to be very spaced out. I mean, if it rains, we haven't had a rainy day yet. So hang on a minute. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. We'll have to plan that. Yes. we kind of worked that out. A lot of the tables we book, we have to say, look, you've got a table outside, and it can't be inside because of the numbers. And then I guess if it's tipping down, work it out.
Yeah.
But we've managed to so far we're doing well, and that's we're very relieved for that.
With the type of career that you have, surely there has to be a few funny moments, incidents. I suppose, are you able to share any with us that will not get you locked up or be brought to court?
I always feel worried about saying things like that because I always think every single lesson I've learned the hard way. I wish I was the sort of person that hadn't done that, but I genuinely think I've made every single mistake that you could make. The worst mistake, which I suppose I really shouldn't share, but whatever. I'm a highly most candid person. Was when I was working really long hours in a restaurant before here, and the head chef, I was young, well, obviously younger, and the head chef was like, go and get the longestine from the fridge for the crustacea, because I had a crustacea bar. I was at the Bluebird, and I had a crustacea bar, and I was so tired. I'd done like 4 double shifts in a row, and I was like asleep on my feet. And also, I'd made the common, a schoolgirl error that I just presumed that a prawn, when it was cooked, was pink, and when it was raw was, how when you see a raw prawn, it's like a grey colour. Prawns when they're raw, they're grey, and when they're cooked, they're pink. And when the lobster's raw, it's black, isn't it? And when it's cooked, it's red. And I went into the fridge. I was really tired, and I saw these longestine in there, and they were pink. So I just pulled them out, and I thought, oh my God, they really look like they're moving. And I thought, oh, well, they can't be. I'm really tired, and they're pink, so they must be cooked. So I just put them on the plate and ran them out to the restaurant, and the head chef just sent them straight out. But what I didn't realise was longestines are pink when they're raw and pink when they're cooked. And they were just really sleepy because they'd been in the fridge. So they were moving really slowly. And so I just sent a whole plate of live longestine to a table, and they ran off the plate across the table. And I got such a bollocking for that. And the worst part of it was the people who had it were celebrities, and they talked about it on their TV show the next day. And I was literally like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. And it's like, that's pretty bad. I serve live seafood to someone. Not just a little bit alive, like properly alive.
Probably alive and ran on the table. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So I always feel like when people make mistakes like that, I think, where do we go? I could probably match that.
Nobody has ever gone through life, I think, without ever making mistakes. And as long as we learn from them and learn to cook properly in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Exactly. Yeah.
There's nobody that has ever not made a mistake. It's just, I suppose, if we make a mistake, it's in front of a computer. If you make it, it's in front of a celebrity, unfortunately.
Exactly. Well, now, yeah, it's... yeah, we had someone yesterday in the kitchen we have some issues where you maybe have like I don't know, a countdown, because we do everything fresh. So if you start running out of something, you have to count down. So you might say, we've got 5 ravioli left, 4 ravioli, and keep an eye on it so that, the customer can be told before they sit down, or we can change the menu because we can just print a whole new menu. But sometimes you have a situation where, the chef has counted wrong and you think, and, how to ensure that they learn from that without making them feel so, crap about themselves that they go home and feel, because you've got to keep in perspective as well, haven't you? If you can, encourage people to keep it in perspective,
Do you take the mickey out of the person and just go and buy them an abacus for the following day and just go, here, learn how to...
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah, no, I just think, in my head, I just think, I'll keep keeping my eye on that one. They clearly can't count very well. But I would also almost say, for something like that, I'd probably blame myself, in truth. I probably would just think, I should have probably kept more of an eye on that. It's all very easy to blame that young chef, isn't it? But you actually think, actually, who is responsible around here? It's not, they're learning, in truth. So it's kind of probably better to reflect on that oneself. Yeah.
That's great. So what's next for River Cafe and yourself?
For me, just enjoying being back in the kitchen with everyone, and then hopefully we'll get this shop up and running, and that will be exciting. And, looking at our wildest dreams, thinking, maybe this time next year we might be able to have, I don't know, someone in Cardiff be able to buy the tomato sauce and the pasta, because at the moment it's just sort of within London, and I like the idea of maybe being able to branch out or sell it in some different shops, and that feels quite exciting. And just just settling in, loving being back in work, loving being back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
An extended holiday that nobody ever wanted, but now hopefully it's over and you're back to doing what everyone enjoys.
Exactly. Well, I didn't find it not that much of a holiday, in truth, because I was trying to homeschool as well, which was I mean, I have to pull you up on your comment about holiday.
I mean, we're both in the same boat, so we know exactly what it is. Work is a lot easier than homeschooling.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was like a challenge in itself.
Yeah. At some stage, it was just worth giving up and going, fine, you know what, teachers, you can deal with that when it happens again. Homeschooling was just...
Well, I was thinking, if it happened in the 70s, I'm sure they would have just let us all just run wild, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But then suddenly I realised, I was saying to someone the other day, it's like, as a full-time working parent and having to homeschool and clean and even cook or do any number, it was just beyond a challenge. I think I fell into the category of people that felt overwhelmingly busy, as opposed to like learning a language or something. I didn't have time to take a hobby. I was sort of like... one day I actually forgot to even feed my little one. I was so busy, and then it was like, did anyone feed her? When we found her eating chocolate chips behind the sofa, it was like, oh my goodness, we forgot to feed her.
But is that because you had literally 6 minutes to yourself each day? Because by the time you got up and fed everyone and done a job and done your own job and cleaned the house and done homeschooling and fed people again and put the dishes away and then done some more homeschooling and then all of these things took over and you go, oh, it's bedtime now.
Exactly. But I think I do feel like there's millions of people who have this exact same. There's people going, that was the same, and I suppose people were not really. I don't know how many people are talking about what a challenge it was, and to that extent, because I don't know, like how many people really were really coping. I have no idea. I think I did it quite badly, I'd say.
I think we all did it quite badly. But...
I honestly think we all did a good job, because it's never going to be easy, was it? We're not teachers. We were all thrown into something which wasn't the norm, and you just do your best.
I'll put my hand up and say, there was hula hoops in our house very early on some mornings, but so be it.
Exactly. But I found the worst part for me was the fact that I slightly, because I figured that the kind of person I am, I'm a head chef of a world famous restaurant. I've got a sort of a work ethic, and the way I am, I've got a really creative 12-year-old who's all singing and dancing, and I'm like, I was a bit. There was times when I thought, my work ethic is how I am. I'm like, you know, and I thought, goodness me, I'm putting that on my 12-year-old, or she should be just wonderful in her own way. And I sort of thought, what made me not upset, it's not the right word, but one of the things I had to challenge, you know, call myself on is the fact that putting your own set of objectives on your child rather than, you know, the way you work. Is it fair for you to try and put that on your 12-year-old? You should probably, you know, let them, you know, but, you know, I could hear myself some days being like, you know, and you just say, gracious me, I never thought I'd hear the day that I was, you know, I had to sort of think, actually, you're not running a kitchen here. You're just trying to educate a 12-year-old in like the history of the Tudors or something. Like, we start at 10 o'clock. We have lunch at 12. Yeah.
No proper scheduler.
Well, I just felt like we needed a schedule because otherwise we'd never, but yeah, that's so chefy. It's so dull. It's so dull.
Everything has a time in and a place, yeah.
Yeah, every time we make a mess, we clean it and make a mess. No, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant, genuinely. But we survived, and we were in Wales, so we were really, really lucky.
Yeah. And we had great weather, didn't we?
We had beautiful weather. Yeah.
We did have beautiful weather, and, you know, that did help a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, and I have got, because I'm in Cowbridge, I had my lovely friend, my school friend, actually, Richard, who runs the wine shop in Cowbridge. That was obviously a saving grace as well. Having excellent fine wines nearby. It definitely helped.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
That's superb.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, that's great. Thanks, Sian. We appreciate your time.
Very much.
Oh, pleasure.
Sian, thank you very much for chatting to us. I'm glad we didn't keep you for too much longer. It sounds like you need to get off and start cooking for another batch of people that will be arriving very soon. Well, that's it for this episode. Next week, we're taking a week off to spend with the family. Don't forget to click subscribe to get all the latest episodes as soon as they arrive. Don't forget to listen to our new Chats at the Bar series every Tuesday for a short insight into business, money, finance, aspirations, dreams and planning. Also, if you're enjoying the series, please leave us some feedback with a quick review, as this helps us to grow and ensure we are giving the audience the best experience. See you in a couple of weeks. We're having a bit of a holiday. Until next time, thanks for listening.